cargo with SGR, even before this directive came into place. Cargo, at one point, we reached 14 trains, pairs of trains, in one day. Meaning, we had 14 trains coming to Nairobi. We had 14 trains the same day going to Mombasa. That was a record, not just for us in the country, but the entire Africa. And so I would like to know, if it's more expensive, why would these importers or clients decide to use SGR? It was more expensive. Let me give you the facts, Honorable Chair. And this is numbers which are verifiable. In terms of conventional cargo, the total rail transportation cost per metric ton from Mombasa to Nairobi, it is 2,275 shillings. This is per metric ton. If you are to use the road, it is 2,700. If we are to use containerized cargo, 20 feet, the cost by using SGR is $670. If you are to use the trucks, it's $850. 40-feet container. If you are to use the road, it is $1,100. The SGR is $950. These are the facts which can be verified. This is not even considering, Honorable Chair, the time factor. Those trucks, how long do they take from Mombasa to Nairobi? SGR takes 8 hours, cargo. Going to Naivasha, when we commission Naivasha in October, it will be 10 hours. And so if you have to factor the cost of time, you factor, Honorable Chair, that going by road, it will be possibly be costing double what people are paying. This is notwithstanding what they call the last mile. And that's why even you come to ICD Nairobi, and this is very important to note, Honorable Chair, we are putting together 6 roads around the ICD. 6, which will be completed in the next 3 to 6 months. Some of them are completed, like what we call Road B, it's completed. And so around the city, around the ICD, you find that as the train comes in, within no time, that the goods will be off the ICD using these access roads. And then we are also trying to link those roads with the express highway, which we are going to put together starting October this year. And so the issue about last mile, because that's what people keep on arguing about, last mile to connect to Eastern Bypass, last mile to connect to Southern Bypass, this will be a thing of the past. And so in terms of cost, I can discount that notion that SGR is more expensive. I think the senator, before he left, he talked about consultations, but I believe I've dealt with that. We are not creating a monopoly. We are creating an efficient transport system. Monopolies can be inefficient, but we are trying to make sure that we have a proper working system.
What is it, Honorable Nasir?
No, Chair, I don't know whether it is right for the CS to actually mislead all of us. And you're misleading us because, as a matter of fact, the reason why people are complaining, one of the major reasons people are complaining, over and above issues of job losses, is because SGR is actually more expensive. And I don't know who is the one who gave you these figures, but I can assure you that yes, directive for government cargo, as it is right now, government is spending 30% more on transporting their own cargo. And what is happening is that you're trying to impose the same. And I want to actually be on record I want to be on record that the CS is actually misleading Kenyans, by extension through this committee, Chair. We can agree with the figures that he has given, that this is the amount that SGR is charging. But when it comes to road transport, and maybe he can be able to advise us where he got those figures from, there is a reason why people are preferring to use road over SGR. And I've even started, Chair, by saying that in any jurisdiction of the world, public transport is subsidized. There is no doubt about that. But when he tells us that SGR is actually cheaper than using road, would there be this hue and cry right now? Would there even be Kenyans wanting to use roads? Chair, at the onset, I wish to take the opportunity first and foremost, if I offended any of my colleagues. We are all members of Parliament.
Fair enough.
Secondly, Chair, I think we are all in agreement on one part, that what is most important is the efficiency of the SGR to compete with other stakeholders. And I'm glad that the CS has given us an assurance that there is no one who's going to be bullied. And I'm hoping that if we are going to be able to also substantiate that someone has been bullied to compulsory use the SGR, then the person who did the bullying, action will be taken, so that it sets an example that we cannot have things that are going to be able to, be subject to other rules that are not the ones that are being done by Parliament and even the Ministry as well. And we are equally in agreement. I think all of us are in agreement that SGR should compete on a competitive basis. If it is an issue of, because of efficiency, because of cost element that will ensure that people go to the SGR and not use the transport companies, that is even better for everyone. It is encouraged. As a matter of fact, we are going to support it in Parliament as well on whatever means. Okay. But Chair, just on a parting note, because I'm sure that this is something that we will be coming to consultations.
Yes.
When you say that there are loopholes in Mombasa, but then there are no loopholes in Nairobi for purposes of clearing. And the reason why I'm saying this is because, as Honorable Mashetani has said, there's a huge amount of people whose livelihood depends on the clearing and forwarding business. When you say that there are loopholes in Mombasa that can only be sealed in Nairobi, human beings are human beings. And what we will say as members of Parliament as well is that put those same measures in Mombasa, so that if someone wants to clear their cargo in Nairobi, they can clear their cargo in Nairobi. If someone wants to clear their cargo in Mombasa, let them clear their cargo in Mombasa. If someone wants to clear their cargo even in Kisumu, let them clear their cargo in Kisumu. There is totally nothing wrong, but all we are saying is that let it not be limited to compulsory shutting down operations from a certain part of this country. That is all we are saying.
Fair enough.
My name is Omar Mwinyi, a member for Changamwe and a former committee member of transport, currently serving with the Lands Committee. I only have one thing to say to the Minister. Every region in our country is blessed with a certain resource. One of the resources that we have at the coast is the sea. So it is a blessing that other regions have also been given. So what we are asking here is let the people of the coast enjoy the resource that has been given by God, so that at least they can get their livelihood, they can also get their survival, and they should never be made to suffer because of some reasons that, of course, are perhaps are serving the interest of a few individuals. So my plea here to the Minister is everything is possible, and I'm sure if KPA is supported properly, it can actually come up with better methods of efficiency, and it can become one of the best ports. And it is actually envisaged in the Vision 2030 that Mombasa Port should be made a port that, of course, should be an example in Africa. Now, if we go by whatever measures we are now taking, then it means the vision is actually lost. So we are again appealing to the government through the Minister for Transport. Let the processes remain as they were. Competition should be allowed, yes. and let everybody choose whichever mode of transport he wants to use. Because the idea is, with the transport companies, which I also belong, we give terms to our, our customers. Sometimes we give them 90 days, and we take these goods up to their places. So these are some of the advantages that they are benefiting from us. So let SGR do their own bidding, and let's compete. And in the process, the customer will actually be served. At the same time, the public will get that advantage of competition by getting perhaps better pricing in all the commodities that we are using. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Fair enough, Honorable Munyi. And yes, I have your name from the Speaker's letter. So you are properly in the committee. So CS, finally.
We shall make sure we assimilate all those issues which have been raised as we do and complete the consultations which I committed to. But the only thing I would like to say, Honorable Chair, is that once again, I would like to emphasize that these investments we have put, whether it's a port, SGR, all these ICDs, these are not only Kenyan investments. These are international investments. Because, for example, 30% of all the cargo which come through Mombasa, they are transit cargo. Out of that, about 80% belongs to our neighbors, Uganda. So as we are discussing this, let's not localize the discussion, because these are very, very important installations. I would like members of parliament through this committee to keep on supporting these investments we are doing. It has transformed our transport system. You just need to reflect, Chair, 5 years ago what used to happen. On this road from Mombasa to Nairobi, we used to have accidents, loss of lives. But now, because we have an SGR which is very robust, we can now afford to mitigate that risk which used to face Kenyans on an everyday basis. As we are discussing the corridor, let's remember the corridor is not just a Kenyan corridor. It goes all the way to the great risks, lakes, all the way to the western seaboard of Africa. Kenya will not be able to distinguish itself as a premier hub in terms of business, industry, if we just confine ourselves with a small argument about a few vested interests here and there. We must make sure we open it up. And that's why yesterday we even looked ahead and said, how will the port of Mombasa look like 30 years from now? And we give them commitments which are in writing, that the cargo will move from 31 million tons to 70 million tons in the next 30 years. These are jobs. And you see, because the region where they happen, majority of the people who come from there anyway. That's why, if you remember, Honorable Chair, when we were launching the Kenya National Shipping Line, and we had seafarers going on board, vast majority actually came from the coast. So as we grow these businesses, let's remember, any growth actually benefits local, but more importantly, we must make sure that it has an impact on the entire country and the region. That's what I have to say now, but I'll continue with the consultations with the members of parliament.
So, fair enough, Honorable CS. So, Honorable members, as we conclude, then in conclusion, we will be saying this, that as you do the 3 weeks consultation, we will then guide that you do a structured consultation so that we don't come back again here, or then somebody raising in parliament during happy hour. So you do structured consultation. What do I mean by that, CS? We mean as a committee that you engage the leadership of the coast MPs. Have a day with them. Listen to them. Listen to what they're raising. And at the tail end of that consultation will be this committee, so that we can be able even to look and say, look, you know what, did you go through this and this? Did you consult our colleagues, members of parliament from coast? Then we can move forward. And as you said earlier, nobody blocks development. Nobody. Parliament is supposed to facilitate government to do development. That's the role of parliament. So with those many remarks, honorable members, and then the meeting and the committee meeting is adjourned.